Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, Ryu Hazuki is ballin' in the rundown.
Plus, Jose gets wild with a new look at Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands.
And then we have a behind-the-scenes look on Adam Sandler's video game movie, Pixels.
You're a good boy.
Somebody annihilate this stupid thing!
Also coming up, we steal the new Crime Wave edition of Payday 2. We take a look back at the original Payday game and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. When I was a boy, my master taught me the ways of martial arts and the rundown. Gamers have spoken. They really, really want Shenmue 3. The new game has finished its Kickstarter campaign with a record-breaking $6.3 million, making it the most successful game ever funded on the site. The Shenmue 3 campaign kicked off during Sony's E3 press conference last month, much to the delight of fans who have been wanting to play it since Shenmue 2 was released in 2001. Shenmue 3 will pick up shortly after the events of its predecessors, with Ryu Hazuki still on the hunt for his father's killer. The story is based on an outline that was made before the first game came out in 1999, and the graphics will stay true to the original look and feel. Basically, it will be the Shenmue 3 that should have been released 15 years ago. We'll still have to wait for it, though. It's not slated to arrive until 2017.
No, this way.
And it looks like we might be getting a Borderlands 3 around the same time. Speaking with IGN, Gearbox Software CEO Randy Pitchford revealed that the studio has begun developing a new Borderlands game.
I am alive!
It's still in the very early stages, so it's too early to say what to expect or when it will take place in the Borderlands timeline, but it's good to know that they're working on it. The next Gearbox title, the online first-person shooter Battleborn, will launch late this year or early 2016. Talking Borderlands and Shenmue with my buddy Scott Jones. What do you think they got to do for Borderlands? Would it be 3? Because the pre-sequel, I guess it's 3.
You know how they are at Gearbox. Might be Borderlands 2.7. You never know. They do crazy things over there. Listen, I've always loved the Borderlands series, but here I want to see where we're going to go that we haven't been before. You mentioned the moon as a place we've been to, but I feel like the core central setting for all the Borderlands games up until this point has been that sort of desert milieu. You know, we just get in there.
Kind of empty
it's all fly blown,
get into the enemies.
And then you get into the enemies. So where are we going to go this time? And I think they've probably got some great ideas, and we're going to get an answer to those questions, but it's a little too soon.
I have 2 ideas for them.
Give
Populated cities with lots of different characters with lots of verticality. We haven't really been able to do too much of that. It's been kind of a horizontal.
To climb up into?
Buildings that you can go inside that are huge city streets. I mean, these are much more powerful machines that they're developing these games for now. All right, so let's talk about Shenmue 3.
Yes.
Biggest amount of funding ever for a video game on Kickstarter. Congratulations to Yu Suzuki and co. Very well orchestrated by Sony. They obviously had a plan here to get people to help them make this game a reality.
Well, I think Shenmue's always been fascinating. It's got a great central character, great storyline, and lots of action. I mean, we're looking back at a game that really flourished on the Dreamcast, which is a system that's long dead, 2 generations back at this point. Had some very strange qualities about it.
Yes, and it's obvious that Yu Suzuki, who came up with the Virtua Fighter franchise and Virtual Racing and Daytona, all these incredible games, was trying to, get into more story development, more sort of role-playing and something massive and huge. And, I think that it was so huge that Sega just buckled under the pressure and the weight and the cost. And obviously, it won't cost the same amount that game did in its day because the graphics are going to be kind of retro, but it's going to cost a lot more than $6.3 million.
Well, listen, when this thing popped up at the Sony's press conference at E3, it's a very exciting moment, but also there was a little bit of skepticism. And now, after the money they brought in, it turned out to be a huge success, and I can't wait to see this game.
It's going to be a wild retro experience. Can't wait for that either. But something that is not going to be retro, something that is definitely shooting for state-of-the-art is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Here's Jose with more.
Got eyes on White Hat.
There is a new Ghost Recon on the horizon. This is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, this game has got a huge scope attached to it. Tell me a little bit about creating the world for Wildlands.
So, Ghost Recon Wildlands is a 4-player co-op, open-world military shooter set in Bolivia. It's set in the near future, 4 years from now, where the ghosts have been dropped behind enemy lines to cause chaos and try to disrupt the alliance between the Santa Blanca drug cartel and the local corrupt government.
Why set the game 4 years ahead of now? I mean, can you guys predict the future? Is that some kind of ability that you guys at Ubisoft have that you aren't sharing with the rest of the world?
You know, I mean, we are storytellers, so this is our job, and if you look at every piece of fiction, there's the idea of inventing stories, and also it's a Tom Clancy game, and we can say that Tom Clancy was the king of the what-ifs. So what we can say is we do a Tom Clancy Ghost Recon game, what if something happened? I think it makes sense. However, the key thing to have in mind is we're always obsessed about game design, and at the core of what we're doing, there was the idea of how to go further in the tactical elements of Ghost Recon as a franchise.
With the 4 years in advance, it's not that necessarily we're trying to predict the future, but it gives us a little bit of leeway to play with some of the tech and offer the players some new choices that aren't close to reality, but they're not 100% based in reality.
Target down. Drop them.
Now, there's open world games out there, but this is freaking huge open world game. And you mentioned the day-night elements. How is that going to play into the factor of the missions that we're going to be going on? Whether, you know, something's across the map, and do we want to do it during the day? Do we want to do it during the night? Is that going to change the gameplay at all?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned about the massive open world. It's absolutely huge. We've got, I think it's 9 regions, each with their own ecosystems. And those things are offering different types of gameplay, different types of approach for the players. So we have jungle, very dense, close quarters combat. We've got swamplands. We've got huge mountainsides. So the players got to make choice about how they approach, what vehicles they use, how they're going to get the job done. And it's really about player choice. That's what it comes down to. But in terms of the day-night, the rain, the weather effects, all of this, for sure it has extra effects as well as the environment type, as well as what's going on and how the game is reacting to the player.
And being that the world is as big as it is, and you mentioned that it's also a 4-player co-op game, is this going to be a game where staying together as a team unit is essential, or is it going to be something where all of us can kind of just go on our own separate ways and do our own things if we want to be it and just prove how badass we are on our own?
I would say it's more about that, it's not necessarily essential, it's more that it makes sense. These guys are elite soldiers, and when they get dropped behind enemy lines, they stick together.
Man, you look at a company like Ubisoft that's juggling all of these unbelievable looking properties, you wonder how do they do it? I can't wait for Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Well, listen, coming up next, we're going to lift the curtain and go behind it on the set of Pixels after this.
Oh, God, no!
Brenner, get out! He's going to eat you!
Welcome back to EP Daily. Confession time. I have a little bit of a problem with Adam Sandler.
Problem or crush?
Yeah. No, not a crush at all. I used to love him, though. I was obsessed with Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
Very charming.
Those amazing movies, so funny. And now I just feel like I haven't laughed at a movie that he's been in a while.
Let me guess, maybe it was Grown Ups 2 or Grown Ups 1 that drove you away, because they kind of drove me away.
Yeah, possibly. But he has a new movie now. It's called Pixels.
Some video game characters are on display here. Here's a behind the scenes.
Pac-Man's faster than I remember! Pac-Man's always been faster than the Ghost. We're gonna have to outmaneuver.
In the early 80s, America sends up this probe into outer space with a bunch of stuff from the culture at the time, and it contains video games and stuff like that, Rubik's Cubes and things like that. The aliens see this, they spot it, and they kind of misread it. They misinterpret it as a declaration of war. So when I become president later on, they come attacking us in the form of video games. They think that's how we want to fight. And it's up to me to recruit all my buddies who were champions at like video games back in the day to bring them back. It's the only way we can battle against them. So it's a war between aliens who are super sophisticated and my buddies who, yeah, we don't bring it.
Incoming!
They attack us in the form of Galaga, Centipede, Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
So they come down in all forms, and we got Qbert too. Qbert's hanging out with us a lot.
Having done visual effects in the past, a lot of the visual effects movies I've been involved with, we were set to create extraordinarily realistic visual effects. So if you're creating a dragon, even if it's a monster, it had to have the texture and the skin of a real creature. And most of the visual effects movies you see in the summertime do that exact thing. What we were aiming for here is something you've never seen before, something that was so completely original and unique that the audience would kind of gasp when they first saw it. So when these video game creatures come to life, they take on this voxelated, pixelated, lit from within aura, and the voxels are constantly moving. So it's literally a three-dimensional version of these little 8-bit games that you used to see on your computer screen, and they're terrifying. What we did not want to do is make them cuddly and cute, because they're coming to our world to destroy us. So if Pac-Man is 30 feet tall and he bites through your arm or a city bus, your arm actually pixelates and crumbles and falls away. Same with the city bus or a building. And that's a unique sort of visual perspective that I've never seen on film before.
Any opportunity to work with Chris is a dream come true, but there's something specifically about this piece and his skill set that is the perfect collaborative effort, and it's the perfect fit because it's so within the realm of what Chris does so brilliantly, which is bring these wonderfully fantastical worlds to life with these unbelievably rich and quirky characters.
Somebody annihilate this stupid thing!
I love it. I love being on a set like this. It's just so creative and fun, and for me, like, this is my first studio film. I've never really been around a movie like this. I've done a lot of independent films, and you know, those are completely different, and then I've done TV shows, which are completely different. So walking on set for the first day on a big studio film, it was like, whoa, kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah! My friends and I would go to these arcades every summer and put in our quarters and spend a lot of money. It was so social at the same time. I feel a little sorry for the kids nowadays who sit at home alone and do them. They played music, and it was like being at the roller skating rink or anything else back in those days, and it was so much more fun.
Oh, God, no!
Brenner, get out! He's going to eat you!
Giant Pac-Man, Adam Sandler, count me in. Pixels comes out this weekend.
You're gonna have a review with Victor Lucas very soon, but right now we have a classic review for you. Here are Ben and Jose with Payday the Heist.
There are two things that I look forward to each and every month, and both of them just so happen to be payday.
Well, guys got to get paid. You got to make some money.
Got to get some money. And so when I heard we were going to be taking a look at Payday the Heist, I figured this has got to be right up my alley.
I was really surprised by the design of this game. It's a heist game. It reminds me of a film like Heat or even like Point Break almost. You're basically just doing different heists. They have 6 heists in the game. It's a cooperative game. 4 people play together. Maybe Kane and Lynch meets Left 4 Dead.
Except there's no zombies.
Well, there's no zombies, but there's lots of enemies. You got to shoot a lot of guys, and you have a lot of different objectives to meet. And that's really what you're doing in the multiplayer. You got to break into the
break
vault.
into the bank and steal the stuff. You got to break out of jail. You got to negotiate with hostages, which I thought was pretty cool.
On the ground. You have to play with your 3 companions in this game. You can't go off on your own in Rambo. You will get shot down in a minute.
Yeah, and they will have your back, hopefully, if they're good friends, unless you're playing with bots.
The bots weren't so great, I thought, if you only play as a single-player game. I mean, it's really set up like a multiplayer.
Definitely,
right when you turn the game on, it's like you're just setting up a server and playing. So they really intend you to be playing online. And I think if you get a good group of friends, there is a lot of depth and strategy to this thing, and there's multiple levels to unlockable abilities and stuff. And they don't make that very clear either. I didn't even know that there was a skill tree until I kind of stumbled upon it while clicking around my guy for a while.
I'm hurt! I need a medic bag!
This game will eventually really flood you with enemies so that you do sort of feel like you're getting overrun. You're not just going to be fighting 5 or 10 guys.
Get the money and get out.
You got to get the money and get out. And I love that. That's the saving grace of this game, is that there's this companionship and this teamwork that you really do feel like a criminal. Like you're being chased by the cops, screaming at hostages, you're running around with a bag of money. And
get on the ground!
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
We got the cash. Let's get out of here.
You know, look, $20 downloadable shooter, you know, you're not paying full price and you're going to get a lot of game out of it. So I think there's a lot in here for people who are interested in this thing. Probably a little better looking and a little smoother on the PC.
Definitely.
But, you know, if you have a PS3, maybe it's worth a shot. It could be right up your alley. Well, I know you like getting paid. I know you like shooting things in the face. So there's a lot to like for you in Payday the Heist, but what's it worth?
I'm giving Payday the Heist a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10. Sometimes crime pays okay.
Robbery! You know, I picked up some of those Payday Heist masks. I put them over my face. I thought maybe I could rob a bank, but I'm too chicken.
Well, listen, we wanted to take a look back at Payday because we've got the latest in the Payday series after the break.
Okay, guys, get inside and locate the art. We want the paintings with the red stickers on. Look out for guards and cameras.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Before the break, I teased that I might want to rob a bank one day. Mom, totally kidding. I would never want to do something like that in real life. In video game form, however, I might. Here's Vic and I with a brand new Payday. This is Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition.
Okay, guys, get inside and locate the art. I want the paintings with the red stickers on. Look out for guards and cameras.
Sometimes it's fun to do a little smashy, grabby. And that's exactly what you're doing in Payday 2. Okay, listen, I didn't play the first Payday.
No.
So did not realize I would be having so much fun being such a terrible, terrible human being.
Yeah, this is definitely in the vein of Grand Theft Auto Online and the heists that you can do and stuff like that. In Battlefield Hardline as well, the sort of cops and robbers type gameplay.
Yeah.
The Crime Wave edition is now on the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yes.
It's a repaint basically on stuff that came out a couple of years ago, so it's not really brand new content. And the modeling and the sort of overall visuals, even though everything's been dressed up to 1080p, doesn't all look amazing. It doesn't look incredible, but it runs okay.
But that's not what you're really playing the game for, although I would like a little bit nicer graphics if I could have them for sure. But what I do love is the menu system in a game like this, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different jobs that you're going to take as well. This game you play online with other people, which is another really interesting aspect. You actually get to search, you pull up this map, and you see all these different things that you can do. Heists, you can start robbing banks, but it goes away. These things happen, they pop up and they go away. This little dial that counts down, and so you feel like, oh my god, well, maybe I want to do that one. And so you get so excited and you jump into it, and then you pick, and you can pick all of these different things you want to do, and you have a day to complete most of them.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and I love how it's so easy, it's so seamless to get into all these things. Because really, with a lot of that stuff, that could easily be mucked up.
Yes, you're right. You know, I think they did a pretty elegant job of sort of getting you into the game, and you have fun right away with the game. A lot of it is, especially when you're shooting at cops in the game, that's stuff that we've done forever in video games, it feels like.
Yeah, it also feels a little ridiculous.
And we've done that kind of stuff before, but I think the fun of this title is the working together cooperatively with your team to crack safes or blow up things or access different areas within a store that you're trying to get as much loot as you possibly can back into your van. Then that loot translates into sort of cool augmentations and better gear and better weaponry, but it also lets you turn your safe house into a thing of beauty as well. You can even customize your masks that you go and all this heists for.
There is so much stuff that you collect from each mission that you do. So much so. Like, I just felt like I was unlocking, and then I feel like it just feeds into my ADD, like, yeah, I want all of it, I want more.
Yeah.
So you go back into it, and then you go back into the next one to get more, because you can upgrade your character as well, and the weapons, and the just different ways that he or your character will perform in a new heist or a new whatever it is that you're doing.
This attack has to blow over before negotiations can begin.
I was pleasantly surprised at the twitchy kind of fun that the game has, but also trying to be silent and stealthy and smart with the way that you rob these places was actually really cool too, you know?
Yeah, but that almost seemed impossible for some things, because you realize that, okay, there's the front door, you can go in that door for the place that you're robbing, but there's also another way in, or there could be another way in. I'm gonna go here to try to discover it, but you get blocked off, and the game stops you from going and exploring different places. So you are really hunkered to the square diameter.
There's invisible walls for sure.
Exactly.
It doesn't go on forever. It's not like Battlefield Hardline, which I think takes some of this core stuff and then escalates it in almost a cartoony type of way, this sort of Battlefield hyper-violent kind of way. This is kind of a little more tapered and tailored to that core heist experience, and waiting for your drill to cut through a safe or for the explosives to go off is kind of nerve-wracking, because you know that the longer that you take, the more cops are coming and the SWAT's coming, and I think it's worth checking out. Even if you've OD'd on Battlefield and Grand Theft Auto, this is still something to check out. I don't think it's as good as those other ones, but I still think it's pretty damn solid.
But it's just fun, man. That's what you want out of a video game. You want fun, you want a lot of smashy, you want a lot of grabby, and that's exactly what you're doing here.
It's sometimes all right to be a criminal, isn't it? In video game form.
Only in video games.
Yes.
Only in video games, Mom, I swear.
What are you going to give Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition?
I think it's a 7.5.
It's 7.5 for me, too.
Wee-oo, call the police. Marissa and Vic got into some trouble. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got your Twitter question of the day.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. welcome back to the Electric Playground. It's time for our Twitter question of the day. This one's from our old friend Gervais B-A at GBA 95 Sonic 94 must have been taken.
Boy.
Why is video game music so good, especially those old classic arcade tunes? Good question.
I got to tell you, I feel a lot of pressure in my life. A lot of stressful things happen to me whenever I'm trying to seduce a lady or maybe pay my mortgage.
Where are you going with
I always think of video game music. There's something very comforting about all the songs. They're sort of woven into key points in my life as well. So they're memories that I bring back from, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And those songs really get under the skin. They're part of my life now.
They're amazing, and I think what it is that the composers that work in games have a lot of freedom. They have to create a lot of work, and there's a lot of trust given to them.
Yes.
I don't know if it's as financially rewarding as if they were working on movies and TV shows, but I think that the amount of fantastic music in games, even in mobile stuff, is really amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Good question. Hey, if you want to get caught up on the show or ask us questions or watch our podcast, go to epn.tv.
And listen, we are cooking up an extra special episode of EP for you tomorrow, including a closer look at Rory McIlroy's PGA Tour. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow. EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
As the game's on Frostbite, we've got one of the maps from Battlefield in, and we brought that into the game, and we built a golf course on it. So cool. We also built a course on the Grand Canyon. So for those golf enthusiasts that said, wouldn't it be cool to play golf on the Grand Canyon? Well, now you can. We've actually built a course. And we've got some really cool things on that Grand Canyon course where maybe the most obvious path to the hole isn't the most direct. So we've added like little shortcuts. You can bounce it off canyon walls. I'm not going to give away any secrets, but you'll have fun exploring the courses in a way that you've never done before.